When it comes to tracking your Google Ads conversion actions, this video is going to make your life super easy when it comes to tracking your Google Ads account and conversions. We've tested over the years a ton of different options when it comes to tracking data from your Shopify store to your Google Ads account, and that's on-site coding, server-side tracking, different softwares like Wicked Reports, Hyros, Triple Whale, you name it, we've tested it. And this app, which is actually part of the App Store with Shopify, has been the most cost-effective and accurate form of tracking that we've tested to date, and it's very easy to set up. So I'm going to get into that in this video. The reason why Google tracking is super important to pay attention to is because every decision you make off of the data is coming from your tracking. And if you have the wrong data, you're making the wrong decisions, which means you could waste money, you could bomb your campaigns, you won't be able to scale up efficiently. It'll completely thwart your ability to scale a Google Ads account. So very important you get this right. Let's jump right in. The name of the app that I mentioned is called Simprosys. Very easy to find. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. But the first step is going to be downloading this app and installing it into your store, which I'll walk you through the process as we dive into this video. Number two is going to be connecting your account. There's a couple different steps you need to take here. It's not super intuitive, but it's also not crazy to get into. But I do want to talk on a couple points there because there are areas you can mess up with if you don't go through these processes properly. Number three is going to be subscription. So it's going to be the way it charges you to use the app. Now it's based off of a SKU model, so it's going to be based off of the amount of products that you're selling in your store. For most people, that means it's very cheap unless you have tens of thousands of products in your store, which most people don't. Even at that point, it's not that expensive, but very cheap for most people to use. And last thing is going to be any extra setup actions we need to get into. So first is going to be downloading Simprosys. What you're going to look for is this little icon with the shopping cart in blue. It's called Simprosys Google Shopping Feed. You can see there's a base price of $4.99 per month, and it will give you a free trial. Just make sure that once you get to the free trial amount of time, it will disconnect if you don't approve the charge. So make sure you either set it up to charge or be on top of it so when the free trial ends, it doesn't disconnect your tracking. So we'll do that if you do not approve it beforehand. Once you have the app downloaded into your store, it's going to take you through the pricing model. And the pricing model is relatively simple to understand. As you can see, it goes off of different tiers for the amount of products you have. In most cases, you're only be paying $5 a month for this app, which is very cheap for what it does. If you have a ton of different SKUs, as you can see, it doesn't even get that expensive. If you have over 100,000 products, which most people don't, it barely gets up to the $100 per month mark. So great when it comes to cost effectiveness. The next thing is going to be connecting your accounts. So very important before you set this up, you need two accounts. One's going to be your Google Ads account. If you haven't done that yet, you can go through our content, which shows you how. You're going to go to ads.google.com. Make sure to use one of the promos you do it so you can get some free ad spend. And the next is going to be merchants.google.com, which is your Google Merchant Center. This is what controls the actual feed from the website to the Google Ads account, monitors it, and then makes sure you don't have anything down, any issues, anything disapproved. It's kind of the hub of managing your feed if you're not used to this. It can be a little technical. When you set up the account, it's going to have you go through 6 or 7 different steps to set it up. Make sure you go through those because you won't be able to set up Simprosys without this. It's going to have you put in your shipping rules, a little bit of information about your business, some basic setup, and it'll walk you through that when you actually start the account. Just make sure not to skip that and do it properly, or it will come back to bite you. Next thing is going to be setting up your conversion actions. So once you're in the actual account and it's all set up, you're going to see a drop down on the top that's going to say tracking tags. And then right under it, you see Google Dynamic Remarketing Conversion Tracking. Once you click on that, it's going to take you to this page, which is going to allow you to set up these different conversion actions. And what it'll do is it'll do it all at the same time, which is really nice. You don't have to spend a ton of time doing each one. If you have never played around with this app before, it may have a different view. It might just say like setup in general. I've used it before, so of course it's going to show me a little bit more elaborated. But either way, you're going to either go to setup or change. And then what it'll have you do is it'll have you replace any past conversion actions in the Google Ads account with these new ones. And it's really 2 or 3 clicks of a button. It doesn't take much more setup than that. The most important thing, once you have set up this stage and it shows everything's active, you have your remarketing, your purchase tag, everything in there that you need, you want to go to your Google Ads account to confirm that it's in there properly and it starts getting data, because the worst thing you can do is have multiple primary conversion actions. If you have more primary conversion actions than one, it'll have a double attribution. It'll basically push in more data that you need, and it'll look like things are doing better than you are. So want to make sure you definitely don't have that going on. And then the last thing is just going to be final tips. So number one is going to be having one primary action. I already talked about that. If you have more than one, and just to explain real quick, what a primary action is it's the action that Google's using to base the results of the campaign off of. So you can have secondary actions, and that'll just pull Google data into your account, but it won't use it for actually optimizing the campaigns. You only generally want one primary conversion action per conversion tier. Like you could have one for purchasing, you could have one for lead gen, whatever it is, but you don't want more than one for each thing, or else it's going to get that double attribution effect. So one of the things we'll generally do, just to make sure it's working properly, is we'll keep the old conversion actions primary, and then once we see the new conversion action with some process coming in and flowing and the data looks accurate compared to the store, then we'll switch them over. So you don't do it right away. Make sure the data is properly coming in first. Sometimes there's issues, and then switch it over once it is. Next thing is going to be comparing data for accuracy. There are a couple different ways you can go about this. The Google segmented traffic on Shopify side isn't always super accurate, but there are a couple different indications you can pay attention to from the segmentation of data on Shopify to see if your Google Ads campaigns is paralleling that. So highly recommend comparing data. Don't just go off of one and put all your eggs in one basket. And then last thing is just checking in on your feed. So when you go to Google Merchant Center, you'll be able to see if all your products are approved. It'll be one big green bar, or you'll see red drop off. If you see red, that means that products are getting disapproved and you want to figure out why. It could be simple issues, it could be different policies. It'll explain all of this. So make sure once you get in there after a day or so, check out your merchant.google.com account, get in there, make sure all the products are live and green, and then once they are, you're good to go. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, but once you get this set up, you'll be smooth sailing with the proper data.